Millionaire's daughter had only months left to live. What the nanny did next left her father in tears. Adrian Morales had never thought his life could veer into such darkness. At 36, he had built a chain of high-end restaurants renowned throughout Los Angeles, hailed by the press as the young king of cuisine. His successful career brought him fame, wealth, and a luxurious life in a sprawling Beverly Hills mansion, where the city lights at night stretched out like endless constellations. Yet behind that dazzling facade lay an immense emptiness Adrian could never fill. 3 years earlier, his wife Camilla had died in a sudden car accident, leaving him to raise their little daughter, Isabella, known as Bella, alone. From that day on, the vast house grew silent. Dinners were shared by only two, and Adrian's smile slowly disappeared. Bella, a 7-year-old girl with big round eyes and a boundless imagination, was the only light in his life. She loved drawing princesses, reading fairy tales, and could spend hours coloring the thick books her father bought for her. Each night before bed, Bella would ask, "Daddy, can Mommy see us from heaven?" The question always pierced Adrian's heart, but he would smile gently and answer, "Of course, my love. Mommy is always watching and proud of us." Those tender moments were the only thing keeping him going. He worked day and night, not only to expand his restaurant empire, but also to fill the void, to escape the pain that never healed. Yet, no matter how much wealth and success he achieved, Adrian knew it meant nothing without family. And the thing he feared most in the world was losing Bella, the only reason he kept living. One autumn morning, as the pale sunlight streamed through the wide glass windows of Cedars-Sinai Hospital, Adrian's world collapsed a second time. Bella had been taken in for tests after bouts of exhaustion and unusual bruises on her body. Adrian believed it was only anemia or fatigue. But when the doctor entered, holding the test results with heavy eyes, Adrian knew the worst was about to unfold. "Mr. Morales," the doctor said slowly, "I'll be direct. Your daughter, Isabella, has acute leukemia." The words struck like a hammer blow. The room spun. All Adrian could hear was the frantic pounding of his heart. Bella, sitting in the chair, was still innocently flipping through her comic book, her small legs swinging in the air, completely unaware that the world around her had just fallen apart. ChatGPT Janoi. "Doctor, how much time do we have?" Adrian asked, his voice hoarse as if choked by something lodged in his throat. The doctor slowly removed his glasses, sighed, and replied, "If we pursue aggressive treatment and her body responds well, it might give her a few more months. But if not, the time will only be counted in weeks." Those words cut into Adrian's heart like a knife. Everything around him blurred. On the small chair, Bella looked up, flashing an innocent smile at her father, and asked, "Daddy, can I have ice cream when we go home?" That simple, childlike question made Adrian's tears surge, but he swallowed them back and smiled at her. "Of course, sweetheart. You can have as much ice cream as you want." And he kept his word. Adrian drove Bella to the little ice cream parlor on Sunset Boulevard, the same place he had once taken her when Camilla was still alive. Bella sang along to the radio, her clear voice as bright as birdsong. But behind the wheel, Adrian felt his heart shattering. The moment the doctor delivered the results replayed in his mind like an unending echo. The shop looked the same as ever, with the faint scent of vanilla and warm yellow lights. Bella squealed when she saw the colorful tubs of ice cream. She picked a chocolate sundae topped with rainbow sprinkles, her small hands trembling with excitement. Adrian sat across from her, watching her beam with joy as she spooned mouthful after mouthful into her mouth. "This is so yummy, Daddy. This is the best ice cream in the world," Bella exclaimed, her cheeks smeared with chocolate, her eyes sparkling like 1,000 stars. Adrian tried to smile back, but suddenly tears spilled over. He turned his face toward the window, pretending to look outside, but he couldn't hold them in anymore. A tear rolled down onto the table, mingling with the condensation from the cold glass of ice cream. Bella tilted her head curiously. "Daddy, why are you crying?" Adrian quickly wiped his tears and forced a smile. "I'm fine, sweetheart. It's just that seeing you so happy makes me emotional." Bella held out her spoon toward him. "Then eat with me, Daddy. That way, we'll be twice as happy." He took the spoon, swallowing the bittersweet taste that spread across his tongue, the sweetness of the ice cream and the bitterness of a truth he could not change. When they returned to the Beverly Hills mansion, Adrian carried Bella out of the car. She ran inside, still brimming with energy, as if she had never heard those dreadful words. But Adrian was different. He remained standing on the porch, eyes fixed on the evening sky, glowing red and orange, feeling as though the world around him had shifted color. For many nights afterward, Adrian could not sleep. He sat in his office, surrounded by contracts and expansion plans for his restaurants, but all of it felt meaningless. Each time his eyes fell on Camilla's photo on his desk, tears welled up. He whispered to his late wife, "I can't lose Bella too. I just can't." But the cruel truth remained, hour after hour, day after day. Bella grew weaker. The bruises spread, her hair fell out in clumps. Each time Adrian saw her forcing a smile despite her exhaustion, his heart clenched tighter. For the first time in his life, money, power, and success meant nothing. One evening, as he tucked Bella into bed, she whispered, "Daddy, why am I always so tired now? Do I have the same sickness as in the cartoons?" Adrian sat down beside her, stroking her fragile, thinning hair, his heart splitting in pain. He didn't know how to answer. He only said softly, "Just remember one thing, Bella. Daddy will always be here with you. Always." Bella smiled, closed her eyes, and drifted into sleep, while Adrian's tears fell silently onto her pillow. The illness had cast its shadow over the home that was once peaceful, and Adrian knew that from this moment on, their lives would never be the same again. The fiercest battle of his life had only just begun. In the days that followed, life inside the luxurious Beverly Hills mansion was no longer the same. The house, once a symbol of success, where lavish parties were held and laughter echoed through every room, slowly turned into a miniature hospital. Hospital beds were brought into the grand living room, replacing the piano that had once been Camilla's pride and joy. Machines beeped in steady rhythms. Boxes of medicine, IV bags, and syringes were neatly arranged on the tables, obscuring the family photographs that had once brimmed with memories. Nurses and doctors came and went in shifts, carrying with them the lingering scent of disinfectant that crept through every hallway. The sound of Bella's laughter grew rare, replaced instead by raspy coughs and labored breaths. Adrian tried to manage both his restaurant empire and his time at home as best he could. By day, he sat in meetings, though his mind was always with Bella. By night, he stayed by her bedside, listening to every fragile breath, terrified that if he looked away for even a moment, he would lose everything. The vast mansion had fallen into a frightening silence. Each time Adrian walked past the staircase, he remembered Bella darting up and down the wooden steps, her little dress flaring as she called out, "Daddy, catch me!" Now, instead of the patter of running feet, there was only the soft squeak of wheelchair wheels and the steady hum of an air purifier. Still, Bella tried her best to keep smiling. She carried her coloring book everywhere, lying in her hospital bed while filling princesses and sparkling castles with bright hues. From time to time, she would look up at her father and ask, "Daddy, do I draw as beautifully as Mommy did?" Adrian, his throat tight, could only nod and kiss her forehead gently. "Even more beautifully than Mommy, sweetheart." Deep inside, he knew he was losing little pieces of his precious daughter day by day. And the house, once filled with light, had now become a battlefield where he and Bella fought each day against an invisible enemy. The arrival of Sofia Ramirez was like a fresh breeze sweeping through a house slowly drowning in gloom. Adrian had hired her on the recommendation of a close friend after he could no longer bear to see Bella surrounded by unfamiliar nurses, distant, cold, and impatient. Sofia was 28, once a preschool teacher before she turned to nursing after a family tragedy. Unlike the medical staff Adrian had met before, she didn't wear the sterile white coat. On her first day at the house, Sofia came in a light blue floral dress with a soft cardigan, carrying a large cloth bag filled with storybooks and colored pencils. When she entered Bella's room, she didn't go straight to the machines or the medicines. Instead, Sofia sat gently on the edge of the bed, smiled softly, and said, "Hello, Bella. My name is Sofia, but if you like, you can call me Fia. I'm here to be your friend." Bella looked up, her big round eyes glowing with curiosity. "Are you a doctor? Are you going to give me shots?" Sofia laughed and shook her head. "No, that's the doctor's job. I came to read stories, to color, and maybe even cook together. Do you like cooking?" For the first time in weeks, Bella's eyes lit up. She nodded eagerly and squealed, "I love baking sweets, but Daddy doesn't know how." Adrian stood silently at the doorway, watching. He had never seen his daughter react to a stranger so quickly. The light shining in Bella's eyes made his heart tremble. In the days that followed, Sofia became an inseparable part of the household. Each morning, instead of the sterile sounds of medical equipment, Bella waited for the sound of footsteps and a warm voice. "Good morning, little princess. Today we'll draw a huge castle, okay?" The room, once filled with the smell of disinfectant, was now covered with drawing paper, crayons, and the colorful pictures Bella taped on the walls. One day, Sofia even transformed the whole room into a pretend beach, with blue ocean posters, handfuls of real sand in small boxes, and coconut-scented oil diffusing through the air. Bella sat on the bed wearing a straw hat, laughing out loud as if she had never been sick. Adrian watched it all, torn between gratitude and bewilderment. He didn't understand how Sofia could give Bella something that he, with all his wealth and power, had never managed to provide. Pure joy. One evening, after Bella had fallen asleep, Adrian found Sofia in the kitchen washing a few glasses left from dinner. The warm light fell across her face, highlighting a weariness that still carried gentleness. "Thank you," Adrian said softly, his voice breaking. "I don't know what Bella would do without you." Sofia turned, a faint smile on her lips. "You don't need to thank me. I once lost my little sister when she was the same age as Bella. I know what this feels like, and I also know that sometimes children need more than medicine. They need the feeling of truly living." Adrian stood still. Her words echoed in his heart, touching the wound he had tried so hard to keep hidden. He realized that Sofia hadn't just come to care for Bella. She had come to bring what both father and daughter were desperately searching for: hope. From that day on, Sofia's presence not only made Bella shine brighter, but also lit up the dark corners of Adrian's heart. And for the first time since Camilla's death, he began to believe that even in pain, there was still room for small miracles. In the weeks that followed, Sofia was not only Bella's companion, but also Adrian's source of emotional strength. Yet with each passing day, the weight inside his heart grew heavier. Bella had begun asking difficult questions, questions Adrian had no idea how to answer. One afternoon, after Bella had drifted into a weary sleep following another draining IV session, Sofia pulled Adrian out onto the porch. The fading sunlight stretched across the garden, but all he could see was a bleak gray haze. "Adrian," Sofia began, her voice gentle yet firm. "Have you told Bella the truth?" Adrian froze. He knew exactly what she meant, but he tried to deflect. "She's too young. I can't let her live in fear." Sofia looked straight into his eyes, her gaze both resolute and full of compassion. "Children are more perceptive than we think. Bella surely senses something is wrong. She needs the truth, not to suffer more, but so she won't feel lost and confused on her own." Adrian stayed silent, his hand gripping the railing tightly. A terrifying fear rose within him, the fear of seeing his daughter's eyes when she realized that time was running out. "How can I possibly tell her that she will leave this world before she even has the chance to grow up?" Adrian's voice broke. Sofia stepped closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. "No one can ever be prepared for that moment, but the truth, however cruel, is still easier to accept than a comforting lie. Bella deserves to know so that she can cherish every moment left instead of waiting in fear." That night, Adrian could hardly close his eyes. He sat by Bella's bed, listening to each fragile breath, torn apart between keeping the secret to protect her innocence and giving her the truth so she could live her last days with awareness and choice. At last, as the first rays of dawn slipped through the window, Adrian whispered, as if making a vow to himself, "You deserve to know, Bella. Daddy won't hide it from you anymore." The next morning, Adrian walked into Bella's room with a heart weighed down. She was sitting propped up on her pillows, her coloring book open in front of her, glitter pencils sparkling across the page. When Adrian sat down beside the bed, Bella lifted her head, her clear eyes locking directly on him. "Daddy," she asked softly but firmly, "am I going to die soon?" In that moment, Adrian felt as though time itself had stopped. His breath caught in his chest, but he knew he could no longer avoid the truth. He gently squeezed his daughter's hand and, with trembling lips, replied, "Yes, Bella. One day all of us must leave, but you will go sooner than Daddy ever wanted." Bella gave a small nod, as if his answer only confirmed what she had long sensed. Her eyes did not fill with tears. Instead, they shone with a calmness that tore Adrian's heart apart. After a pause, Bella whispered, "Then, can I make a list? A list of things I want to do before I go?" Swallowing hard, Adrian nodded. He handed her a little pink notebook with a purple pen, her favorite color. Sofia sat down beside them too, offering an encouraging smile. Bella rested her chin in her hand, thinking deeply, then began to write line by line, her messy handwriting filled with innocence. She wished to bake a giant cupcake with lots of frosting, to have a kitten to hug all day, to plant a rose bush in the garden, to go on a picnic with Daddy and Fia, to wake up early to watch the sunrise, to learn to play a song on the piano, to meet a real Disney princess, to throw a surprise birthday party for Daddy, to paint a huge picture to hang in the living room, and above all, to make Daddy smile many, many more times. When she finished, Bella held up the notebook like a precious treasure. Adrian's hand shook as he read each line, and by the last wish, his throat was so tight he could not speak. In that instant, he realized that his sorrow and silence had unintentionally stolen his daughter's laughter. "We'll start today, sweetheart," Adrian whispered, gripping her hand tightly. He turned to Sofia, eyes red with tears. "She needs us." Sofia nodded, her voice steady. "And we'll be here, every single day." Bella hugged the notebook to her chest, her eyes glowing as though she had just discovered a reason to live each remaining moment to the fullest. Adrian looked at his daughter and swore, with all the love of a father, that he would do everything in his power to help her fulfill each and every wish. "Daddy, let's start with the first thing today," Bella squealed, raising her notebook high. Adrian nodded and glanced at Sofia. "We're turning this kitchen into a bakery." The spacious kitchen soon filled with laughter. Sofia prepared the ingredients while Bella stood on a tall chair, clutching a spoon to stir the batter, her face dusted white with flour. For the first time in his life, Adrian tried cracking eggs, but he was so clumsy that the yolk splattered all over the counter. "Daddy!" Bella doubled over with laughter, her eyes sparkling. "I think Daddy should be the dishwasher instead." Adrian pretended to be stern. "Hey, young lady, Daddy is the head chef. Just a rather clumsy one?" All three burst into laughter. When the cupcake finally came out of the oven, slightly burnt at the edges and misshapen, Bella still clapped and cheered. "This is the most delicious cake in the world." Adrian watched his daughter savor each bite, and happiness spread through his heart like sunlight breaking the darkness. A few days later, Adrian carried Bella into the living room, where a small wicker basket trembled gently. Bella peeked inside and shrieked with joy. "Daddy! A kitten!" The little cat, pure white with bright blue eyes, meowed softly. Bella hugged it tightly to her chest and whispered, "I'll call him Snowball." That entire day, Bella never let Snowball out of her sight. She placed him beside her, tied a pink ribbon into a little bow around his neck, and whispered her secret dreams to him. That night, Bella fell asleep holding Snowball, a peaceful smile on her lips. Adrian sat beside her and murmured, "Thank you, Snowball, for bringing peace to my daughter." One morning, the three of them planted a rose bush in the backyard. Bella's tiny hands were caked with dirt, but her eyes glowed as she said she wanted the flowers to bloom brightly, so Daddy and Fia would always remember her. On days when Bella still had strength, Adrian and Sofia brought her to the nearby park. She lay on the grass, breathing in the air, whispering that she felt like a princess in her own story. Another morning, Adrian carried her up to the rooftop, where the three of them watched the first ray of sunrise together. Bella pointed at the horizon and smiled, saying it looked just like one of her drawings. Those simple moments, picnics, sunrises, quiet laughter, became their most precious treasures. Even as her health declined, Bella insisted on sitting before the piano. Her little fingers trembled across the keys under the gentle guidance of her father and Sofia. The halting notes echoed through the living room, but to Adrian it was the most beautiful music, especially when Bella whispered that she was playing it for Mommy in heaven. The joy continued on a very special day, when Cinderella herself walked into the room, an actress Adrian had invited. Bella's eyes sparkled like stars as she rushed to hug the princess in her glittering gown. That afternoon, the room overflowed with laughter and clumsy little dance steps, like a fairy tale castle come alive. When Bella's health allowed, the three of them carried a picnic basket to the park near their home. Sofia had prepared sandwiches, lemonade, and a checkered blanket. Bella wore a wide-brimmed hat and lay stretched out on the grass, breathing in the fresh air. "I feel like a princess in a fairy tale," she said, then rested her head on her father's shoulder. Adrian held her tightly, silently wishing time would stop. One early morning, Adrian carried Bella up to the rooftop. The air was cool, the sky still veiled in mist. Sofia brought along a blanket and wrapped all three of them together. When the first rays of sunlight broke through, Bella pointed and exclaimed, "It's so beautiful, Daddy, just like the picture I drew." In that moment, the three of them sat in silence, sharing a simple yet profound miracle: the sunrise of a brand new day. Winter slowly settled over Los Angeles with its rare cold winds. Inside the Beverly Hills mansion, Bella's time was running out. Each day she grew weaker. Sometimes just a few steps onto the balcony left her breathless. Yet her clear eyes still sparkled whenever she thought about her dream list. The doctors spoke candidly to Adrian. Bella had only a few weeks left. The news was another stab to his heart, but instead of surrendering to despair, Adrian and Sofia chose to focus on every remaining moment. Though frail, Bella clung firmly to one important plan: throwing a surprise birthday party for Daddy in December. She whispered her secret to Sofia during quiet afternoons, her tiny, trembling hands still sketching colorful little cards. "I want Daddy to be really surprised. He's never had a party prepared just by me," Bella said, her weak voice glowing with excitement. Sofia became her accomplice in this sweet conspiracy. She helped Bella hang balloons, cut out colored paper, and prepare a simple cake. Adrian had no idea. He only noticed that Bella, though exhausted, seemed to carry a secret that made her giggle through her weariness. The birthday arrived. In the living room, balloons floated gently, and on the table sat a small cake with a few candles. Bella wore a pink dress, sitting in her chair, her face pale, yet her eyes radiant. When Adrian walked in, she sang "Happy Birthday" in a trembling voice. Adrian pulled his daughter into his arms, stifling his sobs. Closing his eyes, he blew out the candles and made a single wish. "Please, give me more time." "What did you wish for, Daddy?" Bella asked curiously. Adrian smiled through his tears. "If I tell, it won't come true, my little princess." After the party, Bella grew too tired and drifted to sleep in her chair. Adrian and Sofia quietly cleaned up. They didn't need to speak. The truth was clear to both. Their precious days were nearing the end. In those final weeks, the house sank into an unusual stillness. Bella slept more often, but whenever she awoke, she always tried to smile. Adrian sat by her bed, holding her hand, whispering stories about her mother Camilla and their once happy days. Sofia stayed close, tending to every detail, from meals to the blanket tucked around her. And in every moment, the three of them clung to life together, not through miracles, but through deep, genuine love. In her final days, Bella could hardly leave her bed, her fragile body too weak to play as she once had. Yet in her sparkling eyes, a small flame still refused to die out. One morning, she whispered to Sofia, "I still haven't learned a song on the piano. I want to finish it before I go." Sofia swallowed her tears and looked at Adrian. That very afternoon, the three of them gathered around the piano in the living room. Bella sat in the middle, her tiny hands trembling on the keys. Sofia sat to her left, gently guiding her fingers into chords, while Adrian sat on the right, singing softly to the halting melody. The notes were imperfect, full of mistakes, yet in the golden afternoon light, it became the most beautiful music. Bella lifted her gaze, eyes shining. "I'm playing for Mommy in heaven, Daddy." Adrian could no longer hold back his tears. He pulled her into his arms, his voice breaking. "Mommy will hear it, sweetheart. I know she will." 3 days later, Bella was so weak she could scarcely leave her bed. On a quiet, windless afternoon, she called softly, "Daddy, Fia?" Adrian and Sofia rushed to her side, clutching her tiny hands. Bella forced a smile, her breath uneven. "I want to go to the park, to sit with you and Fia, to see everything up close, before I go." Adrian froze. The thought of taking her outside in this condition tore at his heart. But when he saw her eyes, he understood. This was her final wish, a plea he could not refuse. That evening, Adrian and Sofia wrapped Bella in thick blankets and settled her into her small wheelchair. They took her to the nearby park, where festive lights glowed and crowds gathered to welcome the new year. Bella sat in her chair, her face pale, but her smile radiant. "It's so beautiful, Daddy. I've never seen so many lights," she whispered, her eyes shimmering with reflected colors. Sofia sat beside her, holding one of her tiny hands. Adrian knelt to meet his daughter's gaze, clasping the other, his voice trembling. "My brave girl, just look and enjoy. Daddy is here, always here." When the clock struck midnight, the sky erupted with dazzling light. Fireworks burst in red, blue, gold, and violet, painting the night. Bella leaned her head against her father's shoulder and whispered weakly, "Daddy? Mommy must be watching with us too, right?" Adrian held her tighter, his voice choked. "Yes, she's here, and she's so proud of you, so very proud." The fireworks roared above, the crowd cheered and laughed, but in Adrian's arms, time stood still. He could feel Bella's breath slowing, fragile as a thread of silk. And then, as the final fireworks streaked across the sky in a burst of violet light, Bella smiled faintly. Her lips parted with words as soft as a passing breeze. "I love you, Daddy. Thank you for making me happy." Her eyes closed, her head resting against her father's chest. "No, no, Bella, don't leave me. Please open your eyes just once more. Daddy's begging you. I can't breathe without you. God, I'll give up everything, my restaurants, my name, my life. Take it all. Just give her back to me." Adrian's cries split the night, raw and broken, louder than the fading fireworks. He rocked her tiny body against his chest as if he could force life back into her with sheer love. He buried his face in her soft hair, trembling. "I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you." Sofia knelt beside him, tears streaming silently. She placed a trembling hand on Adrian's shoulder, sharing his grief in absolute silence. In the park, filled with cheers for a new year, a father collapsed, having lost the only light in his life. And in his arms, Bella slipped away, taking her father's heart with her. After that fateful New Year's Eve, the Beverly Hills mansion sank into a heavy silence. Every corner, every object carried memories of Bella. The little chair by the piano, the pink notebook left unfinished on the table, the family painting hanging in the living room. All of it pierced Adrian's heart like a blade. In the first days, he scarcely left his room. Each morning upon waking, his instinct was to call for Bella. But then the truth would crash down on him, stealing his breath. No more giggles, no more little feet running through the halls. Only a cold emptiness swallowing him whole. Sofia remained, quietly tending to the details of the house, from the meals to the backyard garden where Bella had once planted roses. She said little, simply stayed close, her gentle presence pulling Adrian back from the abyss. 3 months later, on a spring morning, Adrian stepped into the garden. The rose bush Bella had planted was blooming for the first time, crimson under the sunlight. He knelt, placed his hand on the soft petals, and whispered as if speaking to his daughter, "I miss you, but I know you're somewhere smiling down at me." Sofia came out carrying 2 cups of coffee and sat beside him. They stayed in silence for a long while, letting the warm sun rest on their shoulders, letting the fragrance of roses stir their memories. Then Adrian spoke softly, his voice trembling but steadier than before. "Maybe Bella wouldn't want me to live like this. Thank you, Sofia, for always being here with me." Sofia nodded, her eyes rimmed with red. "She would want you to be happy." 2 years after Bella's passing, the Beverly Hills mansion was no longer the same. The rooms, the garden remained, but the gloom had lifted. The rose bush Bella once planted had grown tall, blooming brightly each season, a gentle reminder that she was still somehow present. In that very garden, Adrian and Sofia held a small ceremony. It was neither lavish nor loud, attended only by a few close friends. Beneath the rose blossoms, they exchanged vows. Adrian looked at Sofia with eyes that had endured deep loss, but now shone with peace. He knew it was Bella who had brought Sofia to him, not only to care for him, but to love him, to walk beside him as life went on. After their simple garden wedding, Adrian and Sofia did not go on a honeymoon. Instead, the very next morning, they carried flowers to the cemetery, where Bella and Camilla rested side by side. The sky was clear blue, the breeze gentle, making the roses in their basket sway. Adrian knelt before the headstone, his trembling hand laying a bouquet of white roses upon the stone, engraved with his daughter's name. Beside it stood the grave of Camilla, the wife he had once loved with all his heart. "Bella, my little princess," Adrian whispered, his voice breaking. "Yesterday Fia and I were married. I know you saw it all, because I felt your smile in every passing breeze." Sofia placed her hand on his shoulder, her eyes rimmed with tears. She bent down and gently laid another rose upon Camilla's grave. "Camilla, thank you for giving this world an angel. I promise to stay by Adrian's side, to care for him for the rest of his life, and to keep Bella's love alive forever." Adrian gazed at the two headstones side by side, his wife and his daughter, the two greatest loves of his life. Through tears, he smiled faintly. "I once thought losing you both was the end, but maybe it was your way of guiding me here, so that love could find me again through Sofia. Camilla, Bella, you'll always live in me. And with Fia, I'll carry your love forward every day I go on living." Artie. They sat there for a long time, in silence, amidst the peace of the cemetery. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting its glow upon the two graves like a blessing from heaven. And in that moment, Adrian knew the past, filled with loss, would always be a part of him, but love, from Camilla, from Bella, from Sofia, would guide every tomorrow.